Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Beyond Friendship by Marlyn Love, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1, Brian, 6 years ago. Brian, Dr. Wilson says from his black leather chair as he rotates his computer screen toward me. His expression is unreadable, but I sense a warning in his voice. Your test results show irregularity, which could explain the sudden dizzy spells you've been having lately. I lean forward, brows furrowed as I take in the array of lines on the monitor. When the words finally stop flowing, I sink back into my seat across from him. But you're not completely sure? He fixes me with an intense stare and clears his throat. Vertigo is associated with your condition, and these new results have raised cause for concern. Have you read through the information folder? My gaze rambles around the familiar office, its white walls cluttered with diplomas and the thirsty plant withering in its corner next to the window overlooking the crowded parking lot. Yeah, I reply wearily. I've gone over it. What do you think? A resigned sigh escapes my lips. Let's just hope I'll never need it, I say, lifting my eyes to meet his. He twitches a half smile at the corner of his mouth. We both agree on that, but as your doctor, he says in a stern tone, I need to remind you that with this condition, things can change quickly. Cold chills run through me as painful images from my past resurface. I know, I murmur, but if it stays like this, just a little vertigo every now and then there's no way I'm doing this, I say, holding up the folder he gave me last time. I know it sounds scary, and we're not at that stage yet, Brian. But if the new medication I'm prescribing you doesn't work and your symptoms worsen, I'll urge you to reconsider it. When I give him a subtle nod, he switches back to his laptop. Until next time, he says while entering something else into his notes. Pay attention to how your body feels and stay away from things that may increase your chances of developing further problems. This includes drinking too much alcohol and taking recreational drugs. He looks up again and adds one final reminder. And if you feel a fever, Doc, I cut him off before lifting myself off the chair and rubbing my finger over my temples. No need for a repeat every appointment. My brain is working fine. Are we done? I ask, lifting myself off the chair and rubbing my fingers over my temples. He nods, sighing. Yeah, but if you experience any more dizzy spells or one of the other symptoms, Yep, I'll call. The warm air hits my skin like a wave once I'm out the door and into the parking lot, and I squint through the sun. I pull my sunglasses down from my head, shielding me from the light. Slipping into my royal blue BMW, a buzz startles me. I press the button on the steering wheel. Hello, honey, what did the doctor say? My mother's voice is laced with worry. I take a deep breath before answering. Mom, I'm fine. Cross my heart. He prescribed something new. Her relieved breath comes through the speakers like a whisper. Okay. I switch topics before she can continue in any other line of questioning. So, Mom, tell me all about dinner with Paul last night. Did you two have a good time? An uneasy stillness hangs in the air. Mom? She emits a deep sigh. I canceled. A sour taste sits in my mouth at her confession. Are you still coming for dinner tomorrow? I'm making beef stew. From her tone, it's clear this is her attempt to move away from this topic, and I let her. Looking forward to tasting it. See you tomorrow, Mom. We say goodbye, and 20 minutes later, I turn off the engine and step out of the car, keys jingling in one hand as I make my way up to the front door. I enter and toss my keys on the side table. Hey, comes a voice from across the living room. I turn to find a blonde woman stretched out on my extra-large L-shaped couch watching TV. What are you doing here? Didn't I tell you to leave before I left this morning? The woman rises from the sofa, her breast on full display, ready to pop out of her tight, low-cut top. I seize my phone and roll my eyes as she swings her hips excessively on her way over to me. You one of those grumpy morning people, huh? Not when people do what I told them earlier. What's your number? I ask. Her face shows a content grin as she sums up the digits, but when she reaches her manicured hand out to touch my chest, I step away and show her my screen. Where to, Tiffany? Her smile fades and her nose scrunches as she understands I'm ordering her an Uber. Don't be mad. I told you before we fucked it stays with one night. Look through the window. A new day. Tiffany strides back to the couch, snatches her shoulder bag from the ground, and pulls out her iPhone. Don't bother. I'm leaving and will order a ride myself, she says, hurrying through the door and slamming it shut. Not bothered by the blaring television, I shake my head while making my way upstairs. Why do women always get mad when I warn them in advance? I scratch my beard as I lie on my king-sized bed, staring at the ceiling. It must be the dopamine stuff that releases itself in their bodies and causes them to forget my earlier warning. Brian Fox doesn't do relationships. But hey, that's their problem. I try to sleep, something that doesn't come naturally, but the doc's words have my nerves on edge. After tossing and turning for a while, I slide off the mattress. Instead of napping, I walk back downstairs and drop onto the couch. With a click on the remote lying next to me, I open Netflix and continue watching an action series. The perfect temporary remedy to power down and claim back control of the internal emotional chaos the hospital visit causes every time. I slam the tumbler of scotch back across the bar at Shooter's Club, trying to drown out the doctor's words from this morning. When I spot the empty seat next to my buddy Cole, I ask him, "Where's Nick?" Cole glances over his shoulder. His 6'5" powerful physique is like a brick wall, and he has an intense presence that commands attention. He messaged me. He's running late. I shake my head and growl. Didn't he say he had something important to show us and demanded we be here on time? He shrugs. Yeah. Hello, Brian. A sultry voice purrs in my left ear while a hand roams from my knee to my crotch. Why don't we get out of here and have another wild night? I stop the hand and lean back on my bar stool, staring into the woman's blue eyes. It's a hard no from me, I grit, and if you'd listened last time, you wouldn't be here now. Her mouth falls slack. But I thought, yep, there's your problem. Fury flares in her eyes and her hand flies up. Before it lands on my cheek, I grab her wrist and lean forward until our noses almost touch. I warned you last time, Annabelle. I don't fuck a woman twice. I let go of her and turn my attention back to my drink. Asshole, she hisses before storming out. Cole's voice rumbles behind me. Another broken heart in the path of Brian Fox. As I scan the room, he adds, You're becoming a real gigolo here, buddy. I slide off the stool while setting my eyes on the dance floor. Judge me when you're perfect, Walker. Women avoid you, I fire back. Maybe if you weren't scowling so hard at everyone who walks by, you'd have better luck. Cole, Nick, and I met while we were in college. We clicked straight away, even though we have different personalities. Cole's demeanor can tend to be broody, but beneath his intimidating exterior lies his true character. Sincere, straightforward, and honest, without any bullshit. He grinds his teeth and grunts. I actually like my single life as it is. A laugh slides past my lips. Don't you miss having a warm body to cuddle up next to? Someone who fits into your big double king-sized bed? He shakes his head slowly. Nah, I'm good without all that. We share a knowing smile. He needs every inch of that massive bed to sleep comfortably. Cole and I both don't do relationships. The only big difference is he also doesn't do one-night stands. I'm looking forward to the day you catch genuine feelings for one of the female species, he says, raising his beard. Not going to happen. I'm content with a life full of temporary lust and desire. That serious shit is not for me. He gives me a mischievous smirk. Just be careful, Foxy boy. You never know when karma will come knocking. Probably wearing some serious heels, too, to teach you a lesson or two. I pat him on the shoulder as he takes another sip of his beverage. Life is short. It can be over in a second, so carpe diem. I'm going to prowl. See you later. I cruise through the crowd of people on the dance floor. I love this intense, vibrant energy, and the loud music is a welcome murmur against the slumbering noises in my head. When I notice it's not working tonight, I saunter to a dim corner and rest my back against the wall, pushing my thoughts back into the right mindset by focusing on my ultimate dream. Becoming the owner of a bar or nightclub and turning it into the best one in Boston in the next 6 years. I can see it so clearly. Bartenders crafting cocktails to perfection while exchanging lively banter with customers. A distant lounge area filled with friends relaxing and sharing stories over drinks. And the dance floor, beckoning them to move and groove to electrifying music chosen by Boston's elite DJs. A grin stretches across my face at the sound of its name. 6-pack. That's perfect. I must work hard, never give up until I create something bigger than myself that remains long after I'm gone. I have no desire for children of my own, so achieving this goal will be the living legacy I leave behind. A stream of determination flows through me and diminishes the obnoxious ones. Much better. As my eyes dart across the room, they pause on a goddess standing by the entrance door. My tongue flicks over my bottom lip as I try to calm my racing heartbeat. She's beyond gorgeous and, more important, new. The attractive woman shakes her head as she looks at her phone, swiping the screen with her finger. Her eyes survey it as if she's reading an important email or message. Then she slides the device into the back pocket of her deliciously tight pants. A man stops beside her and whispers something in her ear that causes her to spin around and poke him in the chest with a manicured finger. She says something to him that seems to throw him for a loop. He laughs and puts his hands up in the air as if to surrender and watches as she walks away. I go back to checking a few text messages, but when I glance back up, my eyes somehow settle on the stunning woman again. Now she's talking to a man who is smiling at her, but her eyes dart through the room as if she's searching for a way out. And when the guy says something while leaning toward her and touching her thigh, my feet come into action. Carnal appetite rises as I approach her. She's around 5'7" with a delicate yet regal figure, boasting an hourglass shape. Dark chocolate locks frame her heart-shaped face, while elegant black heels paired with tight leather pants outline her toned calves in exquisite detail. Her rose-colored button-up blouse braces her curves perfectly. Lust roars through my veins when I realize what I plan to do. Slide all those layers off her body. But before I do that, let's help her get rid of Mr. Dipshit, who clearly doesn't see she doesn't like his attention. Stopping beside her, I slide my arm around her waist and say in a low voice, "Ah, here you are, my goddess." It takes a moment, but then a smirk plays around the edges of her lips. "What took you so long, babe?" She places one palm on my chest and looks at where her admirer is standing, only to find him mumbling something and scurrying off. She turns back and time slows to a crawl as we look into each other's eyes, an unspoken connection between us. My subconscious tells me to abort, but I continue to gaze into her depths that are a divine mixture of warm espresso scattered with droplets of honey in the irises. "Thank you," she murmurs, her voice soft and inviting. "My pleasure," I reply. "What's your name? This is the first time I've seen a goddess in need around here." To my dislike, she takes a step back. But seeing her lips curl up in amusement as she answers my question with one of her own pleases me. "Do you think you can seduce me with that line?" I smirk, arching an eyebrow in challenge. With my gaze never wavering from hers, I reply in a low and suggestive tone. "Seduce you? Not likely, but I can certainly arouse your curiosity." She takes another step back, leaving a tantalizing distance between us. With her eyes twinkling with mischief, she tilts her head and asks in a playful tone, "Oh, really? How do you plan on doing that?" I step forward and let my fingertips graze her cheek, hoping she feels the spark of electricity that passes between us. Moving my other hand to the small of her back, I lean in closer, my mouth almost touching hers, and murmur softly, "Can you feel this chemistry between us, or is it just me?" Our eyes lock, and another spark passes between us as she nods in agreement. "If we give in to it, we could create something spectacular tonight," I say. She takes a small, shaky breath, and my heart thumps wildly as I wait for her response. "I'm tempted, Mr. Fox," I fill in. The corners of her lips quirk up into a tantalizing grin as she savors the name on her tongue. "But, Mr. Fox, I'm waiting for someone." "Me too," I admit. "But if you say yes to you and me exploring this all night long, I'll cancel my plans." Before either of us can say anything else, her phone beeps in the background, interrupting our moment. She groans out in frustration. "I'm sorry, but I really have to take this call." I shove my hands deep into my pockets to stop them from touching her as I answer her with a simple, "Sure." She lifts her phone to her ear and angles away from me, her voice low and melodic as she confirms the meeting place. "Oh, you owe me an evening of free drinks," she says into her phone. "See you in a second," she adds before hanging up. My breath quickens when her attention drifts across my body. A half a head shorter than me, yet her presence commands authority. "Boyfriend?" Her brow furrows and she shakes her head. "No, of course not. I wouldn't have flirted with you if I had a boyfriend. Do you have a girlfriend?" Before I can answer, someone calls out, "Amanda!" My heart drops as I recognize the voice, and my jaw clenches when a familiar figure comes our way. With his eyes never leaving my goddess, he strides toward her with a smile stretching across his face before throwing his arms around her and pulling her close. "Hey, sis, good to have you back in Boston." Fuck no. "I missed you too," she says, returning his hug before breaking away to look at me with almost apologetic expression. A sinking feeling washes over me as I stare at my best friend, Nick, who has sun-kissed brown hair, sharp, chocolatey eyes, and a lopsided grin that melts the hearts of many women. He meets my gaze, and his brows arch up in surprise. Fox, what are you doing with my sister? You know him? She inquires. Nick's face breaks into a wide grin, and he strides toward me, clapping me on the shoulder. Amanda, meet my best friend, Brian Fox. Her jaw drops, accompanied by a rosy hue brushing her cheeks. Best friend, she mumbles, attempting to disguise her embarrassment by hanging her chin low. Oh, fuck, you gotta be kidding me. Tension hangs in the air as I swallow hard, trying to hide my inner turmoil. How could I not have seen she's my best friend's sister? Nick's gaze sharpens and he glares at me. Please tell me you haven't been flirting with my sister. You're such a shameless womanizer, he says as his hand slams playfully against my chest. Never. A moron was pestering her, so I interceded. When Amanda's and my eyes meet, I quickly divert my gaze back to Nick. He grins, but as his lips stretch into a smirk, I don't miss the warning glance in his eyes. Thanks for that. However, don't even think about screwing with my little sister. She's not one of your casual hookups. Nick looks at his relative. Brian is one of my best friends, he says, but he's also the biggest flirt and breaks a heart every weekend. Amanda swallows and bites her lip. Nick's oblivious to his sister's reaction and changes the subject. Asking where Cole is, I point him in the right direction. Let's go, Amanda, he tells her, already moving through the crowd. Take a step forward, ready to follow his lead when a gentle touch on my shoulder whips me back to reality. Brian, she whispers. I freeze, taking a shallow breath, and as I realize what must be done. I can feel her eyes burning into me, and as I turn, the intensity of her gaze makes my stomach churn with dread. I force myself to look at her. How have I not noticed that she has the same dark, expressive eyes as her brother? Damn it, Nick. Just as I'm ready to blame it on him, I remember my best friend mentioning his sister coming back to Boston after having lived and worked elsewhere for years. Well, fuck me. My heart sinks, and if my dick had a voice, it would scold me now, trying to prevent me from doing what needs to be done. If it were anyone else, it would have been so easy to succumb to the heat between us and take her home for the night. And with our connection, I'm not doubting it would be sensational. But knowing who she is and the risk that comes with it, I can't do that. She can only stay a fantasy I'll never fulfill. She opens her mouth as if to speak, but before she can say anything, I lean close to her ear and murmur, let's forget what happened. Blood pumps through my veins as she straightens her posture, locking her gaze with mine. Yeah, that would be better, wouldn't it? My conscience and my libido are at war inside of me as I try to determine the correct course of action while simultaneously daydreaming about undressing the beautiful woman in front of me and running my tongue over every inch of her body. I grit my teeth. No, not an option. She's my best friend's younger sister. I take a deep breath and try to keep my expression as calm as possible. I will not jeopardize my friendship with your brother, so it's better we forget what happened. She sighs but nods. A pang of something, guilt, regret, hits me in the chest. And a moment later, it's accompanied by a sudden, strange yet alarming set of palpitations in my chest. I press a hand against my heart. This, along with the fact that she's my best friend's sister, further cements the impossibility of us ever being together. So I murmur, we can be friends, but that's all it will ever be. She edges closer to me, her fingertips brushing my arm. Guess we'll be friends with chemistry then. I swallow hard, trying to push away the sensations that fill my body from her touch. She stares at me for what feels like an eternity, not saying anything. I wait for her to speak, and she does. Let's go, she says before walking off toward my two closest friends sitting at the bar. An hour later, I'm captivated by Amanda Brown as we talk. So, a clothing boutique, I say with a smile, admiring her ambition to start her own business. Nick, sitting on the other side of his sister, says, Brian's going to open his own bar nightclub soon. Amanda sits up. How far along are you with this plan? Getting there, I reply. These two are a big help. I shoot them both a grateful smile. Nick is born with entrepreneurship coursing through his veins and a brain for business pointed enough to make him a millionaire. The only thing he fails at is cooking. You should have seen the kitchen after he attempted to make an omelet. Cole, on the other hand, can craft flawless contracts but has the dancing finesse of two left feet. Together, they are an unstoppable force when it comes to investing in upcoming businesses. With their help, I'm on the road to realizing my dream. For a moment, the guilt of keeping my condition from them wants to take over. What if they invest and I quickly stop my thoughts and focus on the woman beside me. She rewards me with an earnest smile. That's amazing, Brian. As the evening progresses, Nick leaves us behind to dance with a girl he recognizes and couldn't resist. Cole, however, left to find refuge in his own world by working on some business deals he had slated for the night, which leaves Amanda and me alone. We sit at the bar, and I notice her sneaking peeks at me in between sips of her drink. Something wrong? I ask. I've seen you drink tonight, but no alcohol? She gazes into her cocktail glass, grinning. Guess I caught myself assuming that every future bar owner drinks alcohol. My smile widens, savoring how she doesn't question if I'll realize my dream, but assumes it's happening. I could tell her I have my occasional alcoholic beverage, but never more than 2. But where's the fun in that? So I say, well, another assumption debunked then. Her laugh tinkles like a bell, setting off sparks in my gut. Our eyes lock like magnets like they have all night. There's that damn spark again, tempting me to lean closer and caress her skin. Why does she have to be Nick's sister? If not, we wouldn't be chatting here at the bar. No, we'd be tangled up in my bed with her moaning my name while I'm nestled between her thighs. She glances at her small wristwatch. I think it's time to call it a night. Nick strides in our direction. The woman he's been dancing with has her hands firmly clasped around his arm. His whimsical smirk is not undeniable evidence of his intentions. I'm heading home, Amanda says to her brother, who raises a dubious brow. Oh, right. He glances at the woman, then back at Amanda as she shakes her head. Don't worry, I'll grab a cab. No, I promised you a ride home, so I interrupt without hesitation. I'll drive Amanda back. You have fun. He looks from her to me, his eyes narrowing. You sure? Yep, had one drink hours ago, so I'm able to drive. She'll get home safe. No funny business with my sister, understood? When I nod, a relieved smile etches over his lips. Thanks, man. No problem. As soon as we step out into the night, Amanda turns facing me. No need to go out of your way. There's a cab. No way. My voice is stern as I cut her off. You're coming with me. Without further protestations, we hop into my car and speed off. Nick's place, I assume? She nods with an air of resignation. Yeah, for the next 2 weeks. Then I can move into my own place. We zip through the night in silence. The slight movements she makes are magnified in this moment, like when I watch from the corner of my eye, she leans forward and removes one of her shoes with a sigh of relief, wiggling her toes with blissful pleasure. Maybe next time wear flats when going out, I suggest casually. Her brown eyes shift my way. Not a chance. They're an essential part of this outfit. No pain, no gain. I ask curiously, and what is the gain? Devilish grin teases the corner of her lips as she says, having a good-looking lifted ass. We both chuckle and continue on our journey. So what kind of movies do you like? She asks out of the blue. I shrug. Mainly action films and Marvel stuff. She shakes her head and grins. No surprise there. Who is your favorite superhero? Words leave my mouth before I can even think about it. I love Wonder Woman. Amanda's eyes light up as she sees my embarrassment for confessing to having a crush on the character. Oh, really? Like the one played by Gal Gadot? I nod and add with a smirk. You could totally pull off her look for Halloween. She laughs again. As we pull up to Nick's, I switch off the engine. Well, guess I'll see you around then. She twists toward me. I suppose so. Her warm brown irises penetrate my soul, and everything inside me screams to do more than gaze upon each other, yet I can't take action. My gaze drifts to her mouth as she tugs at her lower lip. Too bad you're his best friend, because honestly, I haven't felt this gravitational pull before. With that said, she steps out of the car without looking back, striding gracefully forward toward the entrance. As I watch her walk away, an onslaught of unknown but powerful feelings course through me like boiling hot coals. Guess karma is wearing heels tonight.